The last first-team match at Plough Lane wasn't due to kick off until 3 p.m, but the police preparations started much earlier.
It's 11 o'clock in the morning on Saturday the 4th of May. Smallwood Junior School in Tooting has been taken over by 300 policemen. They're here for their breakfast briefing on today's match.
Right, good morning ladies and gentlemen. Today's match is Wimbledon against Crystal Palace. It's a first division match and therefore a designated sporting event within the terms of the Sporting Events Controlled Alcohol Act 1985, and thus all the implications of that act apply. As you've heard, senior officers on duty today are Gold Chief Superintendent Ken Harwood from Wimbledon, Silver is Chief Inspector White from Wimbledon, I am at Bronze 2, Bronze 3 is Inspector Finnemore, my right. We'll be looking after the Turnstile Terrace and after the match the area surrounding Wimbledon Park Station. Bronze 4 is Inspector Henry covering the Waddle Terrace or the away end. That you can see is the main entrance to the stadium. Is to make sure that all officers who are attending today's event know the layout of the ground and are aware of their responsibilities following the Taylor report following the Hillsborough disaster. And obviously we use a slide presentation for this, with a view so they can actually see the ground, the layout of the ground, including aerial photographs of the ground. Each officer has an individual reminders card giving a small plan of the ground and the surrounding area to remind him throughout the game, and each sergeant in charge of a group of about 10 PCs has a fuller briefing explanation given to him both on paper and verbally, which is again the responsibility of the 3 inspectors who are on duty today. Today's game being Wimbledon against Crystal Palace, both clubs have been relatively successful in the first division this season, although both are at the top, neither in contention for either the championship or any league honours. Both clubs are reasonably well behaved, and in fact Wimbledon have got a very good record on crowd behaviour throughout the season. We anticipate a relatively quiet afternoon, and in fact we're hoping weather-wise that we have a nice quiet afternoon and we all go after a good afternoon's entertainment.
At Plough Lane, the police on the ground can receive more specific instructions.
Right, so just point out the cameras again in the ground, so you know exactly where they are. You've got a camera on top of the north stand, AJ Ball. There's a camera by the floodlights at the back. Another one on top of the south stand. Give you good coverage inside and outside the ground. The handheld camera is inside the north stand, and so it gives you very good quality evidence pictures. We can make sure the gates are kept to, but not locked. So if there is any pushing when you go overcrowding, the fans can go straight out on the pitch. We'll deal with them once they're out on the pitch as opposed to keep them in here, okay? There's no cross flow between the 2 compartments, they're completely separate. So make sure the 2 PCs on the gate all the way through the match and relieve them. Again, 2 PCs down behind the turnstiles, so make sure that no fans, once they've actually got into the ground, come into either the pen. They stay where they are once they're in. After the match, we're sweeping the fans through from this side, out, through the gates, follow them through to the station and back to the police station after dismissal. Right. Any questions?
How do you feel about spending your Saturday at a football match?
I'll get used to it. You work quite a lot of Saturdays in the police force anyway. You only get 1 Saturday off in 4. So being at a football match is no problem, as usual.
How about you?
Much the same really. You only get 1 weekend off in a month. So working Saturdays, not much different from the day of the week.
Do you get a chance to watch the game from the terraces?
Yeah, whenever a goal's scored, you should be looking at the crowd just to see if there's any trouble going on at that time, because they tend to get a bit excited then. But I mean, normally, yeah, you can watch the match, but you've got to keep an eye on the crowd as well.
And do you find you get a chance to enjoy the game, or is it all work?
Well, if you enjoy football, I suppose, by watching the game, you get an idea of how the crowd are going to react as well, so it's a bit both ways.
Policing a football match involves specialists from a number of areas. The police horse has proved to be an effective crowd controller.
Main role's just to deal with any crowd disorder. But we're not expecting any crowd disorder today. It's the end of the season. Both teams are fairly happy with each other, I think, so I don't envisage any problems.
How many horses do you have here today?
We've got 11 horses out today. That's about a normal mounted serial for the average football match.
There was a time when a football hooligan could be sure that he would escape the attentions of the police. he'd be literally lost in the crowd. However, the past few years have seen enormous changes in surveillance.
My name is PC Frank Stokes, and my particular function this afternoon at the football match is to operate the camera with PC Wilson. The main function is to monitor the crowd in case of any trouble, safety aspects. Basically, that's it.
Can you tell me what happens to the tapes that you record during the game?
The tape is recorded in the police control room, and after each match, tape is kept for evidential purposes if the need arises.
On the pavement, please. Thank you.
Palace Fanzine Eagle Eye, 60 feet.
It's 2 o'clock now, and the fans are starting to arrive.
Well, our job really is to supervise the turnstiles, to make sure people are queuing properly down here, to search people that we think may be carrying knives, bottles, cans, anything that be used for criminal damage, anything like that.
And how do you go about that search?
Well, it's a selective search. People that we suspect may have these things. We've got small metal detectors, which we can use. Or we just pat them down. This search is by consent, but the club rules state that if anybody objects to them being searched, then they don't come in. So obviously we have to tell them that they have to be searched if we believe that they may have something.
Once the supporters are in, any problems can be tackled. As kick-off approaches, all seems calm at Plough Lane.
After the break, part 2 of our police special. Sophie. Now for the second part of our police special.
The Wimbledon Crystal Palace game is underway. The police operation is controlled from a police box above the family enclosure. A club steward arrives with news from the Wimbledon end.
You got a problem?
Right, no, it's just there's some Palace supporters, about 10 or 12 of them in the...
Are they the ones who are bringing through there?
No, they're to the left-hand side of the...
You got on the video?
No, find out where exactly they are. Go to your left, over.
As I'm looking towards it, it's to my left, heading towards the Plough Lane end. Steve, if you're standing in the centre of the West Beach on your right-hand side.
Yeah, hang on a second, I'll just get the location.
Received. Above which part of the advertising boarding, over?
Samsung.
Received, over.
Thanks, Steve.
What, next to your...
You see the Samsung advertising board? If you go above it...
Right, Steve, North Crossing State sign, there's some about 2 or 3 people deep and then a few more a bit further back after the first barrier.
Yeah.
Received. So it's just to the left of the Samsung.
It's just slightly to the left of the Samsung sign, apparently.
Can you identify what any of them were wearing, over?
Keep it there.
Just Stevie B, you receiving, over?
Yes, Stevie.
There.
There's one in line with red, orange and green jacket. There's 3 or 4 just there. And then in line with him a bit further back after the gap.
Just
okay.
Okay, Steve, we've got them on camera. We're obviously keeping
Can you tell Finn that he's got some there, just to keep an eye on?
Thanks, Harry, for putting that up.
Yes, received 972.
Can you tell Finn that the Samsung, you see the Samsung sign? Behind that, he's got some Palace supporters. There are no problems at the moment, just for his information. They have to
Bronze 3 from control receiving. Yes, you have about half a dozen to a dozen Crystal Palace supporters to the left of the Samsung sign. Control over.
The groundwork for avoiding trouble at football matches is carried out by FIOs, Football Intelligence Officers, one attached to each club from a local division.
My name's PC Roy Douglas. I'm the Football Intelligence Officer for Wimbledon Football Club, and my job is to liaise with the Football Intelligence Officers from the visiting football teams, such as Sergeant Baldock from Crystal Palace today, to assess what the crowd's going to be, the behaviour of the crowd, and to identify any troublemakers, and just to generally assist with the smooth running of the game.
I'm Sergeant John Baldock, Football Intelligence Officer for Crystal Palace Football Club. Prior to the match, for a few days, I liaised with PC Douglas at Wimbledon, pass on any information regarding coaches attending, any likely troublemakers, the numbers that can be expected by Wimbledon. On the day of the match, myself and PC Douglas would attend local public houses prior to the match, trying to isolate any possible problem groups, any flash points, before following on fans down to the ground. Then checking supporters going in at turnstiles for drunkenness, weapons, things like that, assisting searching serials on the turnstiles. Inside the ground today, we've been trying to isolate any Crystal Palace supporters that are known as potential troublemakers in home supporters sections, and then moving them to a safe haven, basically, down the Crystal Palace end of the ground. After the match, we'll follow supporters back to their cars or back to train stations and their coaches, etc.
And how would you say your season has gone, both of you?
Well, Wimbledon are generally a very, very well-behaved crowd, and my job is mainly gathering intelligence for the visiting teams, and we've had very few problems down here this season, approximately about 15, 16 arrests, which is, compared to other First Division clubs, is a very quiet season.
The Crystal Palace fans in the Wimbledon ends don't seem to be a problem. Suddenly the police box is alive with a new rumour.
It's my opinion that if we locked those gates, those kiddies there would be crushed. So, in my opinion, it's better. There's a pitch battle out there that we have those. Then we have those kids at the front crushed because we don't open the gates. Similarly, if we could also have the stewards and our own men injured if they really wanted to. The prime concern, as you can see, the kids are down the front. Also, if we stop one end and not the other, you could also have a scenario where you get taunting.
How seriously do you take a pitch invasion? Do you take that to be
What have you got going on?
violent, or do you take that to be...
I think it's going to be jubilant end-of-season celebrations. And the last thing I want is one child injured because of a bit of celebration.
Yeah, I think
I'd much prefer that we had a few hundred on the pitch than we had one kiddie injured. I'm sure the club take that view as well.
Half-time, 0-0. When there's no football on the pitch, supporters can get restless, and the police have to remain vigilant.
Well, the spectators are marvellous. There's a crowd of about 10,000. As usual, there's always the late last rush to get in, but they're very well behaved. We've only had one person arrested for a minor offence of drunk and disorderly. There's no problems at all.
What kind of record has there been of games at Wimbledon this season?
The crowd at Wimbledon is usually excellently behaved. I don't know anybody that actually hates the spectators at Wimbledon. They seem to get on with most clubs, and we don't have to segregate the people at the end of the match. We let them all out together, which I think is a good sign. Well, as you are aware, we have received some information that a few of the crowd might spill onto the pitch at the end. We're going to view this as a more of end-of-season celebration rather than such an emotive statement like a pitch invasion. It'll be our policy to let the people come onto the ground. If we stop them, there could be kids at the front of the gates that get crushed if we prevented them, and under no circumstances do I want that. So we're going to let the spectators come on, and then we're going to let them disperse by their own means, providing there's no trouble.
On the pitch, the second half is full of incident. Palace are now 2-0 up. Ian Wright, the scorer of both. The Palace fans are riding high and are under closer scrutiny than they realise. Ian Wright again, and he's made it a hat-trick for Crystal Palace. Palace are 3-0 up now. It looks like they're going to win the game. How does this affect your dealing with the crowd?
Well, it's good for us. I hope they all leave quickly and happily after applauding the performance of their team. I expect they'll disappear in about 10 minutes, hopefully.
The 90 minutes is all but played out, and the police are ready. The final whistle has been blown, and no sign of a pitch invasion from the Palace supporters. Instead, it's the Wimbledon fans who are on the pitch. There was a note in today's match programme. Wimbledon will definitely be leaving Plough Lane. Fans have heard rumours of a ground share with Crystal Palace. After a 3-0 defeat by Palace, the idea is not popular. Club Managing Director Sam Hammam ventures onto the pitch to explain the necessity of any move. Despite the presence of supporters on the pitch, the police operation for the day is almost complete.
The crowd are absolutely marvellous. As you know, we talked about a possible crowd incursion at the end of the match. This just didn't occur. All the Crystal Palace fans made their own way home. At the end of the game, a few Wimbledon fans came on the pitch, and the chairman, Sam Hammam of Wimbledon, has come down and is currently talking to them. I think there's about 100, 150 left out there now. They're very well behaved, and as far as I'm concerned, as long as they're talking and well behaved, they can stay there and talk. Most of my police officers have been dismissed, and a few are just here just to make sure that Mr. Hammam is safe, but I'm positive he is.
So this is a satisfactory end to the football season for you?
Very satisfactory. We've had really no trouble at all here. It's been a pleasure to police.
We'd like to thank the Metropolitan Police for inviting us to spend the day with them, and thanks too to Wimbledon Football Club here at Plough Lane for making us so welcome on the day. Well, that's about it for tonight's programme, but we've had lots of requests from people to see more of the United Artists Fairfield Fun Day, so we're going to leave you with a taste of that. Don't forget to watch Cable Today all next week for your news and views. Bye for now.